Hey, what's up, gang? Welcome back to another Art at Home. Today we're going to be doing textures. Textures. And for many of you who have probably, since we've been out of school for so many days, may not remember what a texture is, but don't worry, I'm here to remind you. Texture is the way the surface of an object feels or looks. And today we're going to be talking about or doing a project where it deals with more hands-on textures as well as textures that you can see. Some of the supplies we're going to need today, we're going to need our we need our pencil, we need a piece of paper, put that on the side. Off camera. Okay, so pencil, an eraser if you need. We're gonna need Reynolds wrap, and we're gonna need glue, and we're gonna need things that are textured or that have texture. And we're not just looking for any kind of texture like this thing here. I wouldn't be able to use today because the texture of this thing, even though it is furry and it feels soft, it's not going to really work well with the Reynolds wrap. Okay, if you have the Reynolds wrap that's the thick version, the heavy duty one, I think that would be better. I have the really cheapy thin Reynolds wrap, so anytime you touch this stuff, it like creases and it wrinkles, and it really is a detriment to this art project. So if you have the heavy duty Reynolds wrap, you're pretty good to go. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna look around the house for things that have textures that are pretty hard. Like I have my keys here. So like, if you guys don't remember, when you were in kindergarten or first grade and during art, we would look around the school for leaves and whatnot, and we used our crayons to rub our paper over our leaf, and it would leave an imprint of the veins and the contour lines of the leaf. So that's kind of like what we're going to do today, but we're going to use, instead of using crayons, we're going to be using our Reynolds wrap. So a good thing might be keys, if you have keys. Another good thing to have, coins. You have coins laying around of all different sizes and types. Those would be cool. Also, there are things like, let's see, like this bottle here. This bottle, if you look really close, has a texture around the cap that you can use to hold on to and grip with your fingers so it doesn't slip. This is a texture too. Okay? And you can also use something like this in today's exercise, or even here. There's textures up here. Up on the top, these letters are raised. They're like embossed, so you can actually like feel the texture. So you can use this too. That would work. The concrete or cement that's around your home, the asphalt that is near your driveway. I'm not suggesting that you go out in the street and do your art, but I'm just saying that things like that have textures, like really interesting textures on them. Please do not go on the road. Please stay safe. Okay, do your artwork where people can see you. If your parents are there and they can assist you with grabbing textures outside where they may not want you to be around and they can watch you, then great. Okay, but anyway, long story short, we need a piece of paper, we're gonna need a pencil, and we're gonna need the glue at the very beginning. Okay, so make sure you have that stuff and we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the paper and we're gonna place our hand on our paper, just like what we did before when we did our other textures, texture drawings with the textured bug and the textured hand. Same thing, we put our hand on the paper, just like this, and we are going to trace, using our pencil, around our hand, around our fingers, and all the way down to the end of our forearm until it goes off the page. You want to make sure that the lines go off the page. Okay, you don't want just your hand floating in space here. You want to see your hand drawn, and you want the the forearm to go off the page. And remember, when you guys are tracing, you need to keep your pencil straight up and down. Okay, the top of your pencil needs to be pointing at the ceiling, because if you are angled and you're going around your hand at an angle rather than being straight, if you're going around your hand, what happens is that angle is going to cause your hand to be very, very skinny and alien-like. So we don't want those alien hands. Make sure that when you have your hand on your paper, you're drawing with your pencil straight up and down, all the way around your fingers, inside, outside, all the way around, and then end when you go off the paper. All right, so when you're done, you should have a nice hand drawing just like this. All right, so the second step, let's zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. The second step is we're going to break up our hand into different parts. Okay, so notice I drew lines going across my fingers, so I have these little spaces here, these shapes. Okay, and if we look here at the palm, why is this thing freaking out? Okay, if you look at the palm, you're gonna notice that I have this area separated as well. So I have a separation, and look how my forearm goes off the paper here. So I have one big section, one big shape in my forearm, one big section, one big shape going from my forearm wrist into my palm, and then I have another big section here going to my thumb area, right here where my thumb actually bends in. That whole area is one big shape, and then the top of my palm, the part that squeezes together like that, this whole area plus a little bit of the fingers is going to be my last shape. Okay, so let me zoom out now that you guys got an idea of what that looks like. Okay, so that's your second step. You're going to, first step, trace your hand on a piece of paper using your pencil. Second step is you're going to separate these parts of your hand with these straight lines. And what we're going to do is basically like what we did with our textured drawing, is inside these small shapes we're going to draw. Instead of drawing though, we're going to look for textures to rub. Okay, so now that we have our shapes here, the next step would be take our glue, and we are going to glue over all the lines that we just drew on our paper. Okay, we're going to glue all the way around our hand. We're going to glue those lines that are cutting through our hand. We're going to glue those lines that are going through our fingers, and you're going to put enough glue where it looks, where there's it's risen a little bit. Okay, there's a rise to it, because if you don't put enough glue, you're not going to get that texture when it dries. So what you want is, when the glue dries, to have a bump. You remember when we did our labyrinth last week? I put those little bumps inside the labyrinth to make the ball move around. Well, that's the same exact idea. We are going to use the glue to create a texture going around the contour of our hand. Okay? And when you finally glue your paper and it dries, it should look just like this. Alright? So here's the glue. It's all dried up. As you can see, it's it's three-dimensional. Move that inside so you can see it. You can kind of see like how it rises. It's kind of bumpy. Okay, so that's what we want. We want the bumps. You want to be able to feel the bumps. So there's our first texture. Just the glue itself being dry. Nice texture. My hand fits right inside. Just like that. Okay, so nice texture. Feels good. Alright, so the next step after we're done gluing over our contour drawing and the lines to create the shapes in the hand, we're going to go ahead and grab some of our tin foil, and we're going to make a nice clean flat piece that's going to be big enough to cover the entire paper. Okay, so this is pretty good. We don't want to waste our aluminum foil because our parents might need to use it for something very important. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our finger And we're gonna rub along the glue. I'm gonna use part of my nail, kind of scratch and press. And you have to make sure you're hanging on to the aluminum foil with one hand, because this thing will move and slip and it's really gonna mess you up. So make sure that your hand is nice and tight, hanging on to that piece of paper underneath your finger. And you're just gonna go ahead and rub the glue lines, and you're gonna create a relief inside your aluminum foil. You're gonna go all the way up the inside of your hand, the outside of your hand, all the way to the fingertips, on the inside, on the outside. Don't forget to catch all those lines in between. Alright, so after you get your glue lines all rubbed on there onto the aluminum foil, we are ready to move on to the next step once you get that done. It looks like I ripped that one. Whoops. Be very careful, especially if you have the thin one like mine. Mine is very... My aluminum foil is the cheap brand. Or not the cheap brand, but the cheap version. It's the thin one. Okay, alright. And like I said, look, I just accidentally rubbed my arm again. Look over here, it's all gross over here now. Okay, alright, so anyway. So now, I've got my hand on top of my aluminum foil. I'm going to grab some textures, and what we're going to do is in each one of these small sections we're going to go ahead and do texture rubbings, and it's going to be quite easy because the aluminum foil basically it picks up all the little creases and whatnot on everything you touch because it's meant to actually go around food. So I'm going to take my coins and I'm actually going to fill my coins inside the palm area of my hand. So I'm going to use that as one texture. Another texture that I can use on my thumb, I have, let's see, I got some fun things that I can go ahead and rub inside my thumb area. I'm going to try and look for something that's electronic to put over here in my thumbs. And then here on my fingers, I'm going to have another texture. I'm thinking about using someplace on the ground, either cement or the wood on top of my floor. I'm thinking about maybe putting that texture inside my fingers. I think wood would work really cool because wood is kind of like fingerprints and it kind of has those lines in it. So that might actually work really well for the fingers, the fingertips. The money here on the hand is going to be a nice transition between that, and I'm going to look for something electronic to go here, and then I have two more spaces that I can come up with something fun to put over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look around the house for something fun to rub inside these areas, especially since I don't have them all here like my coins. My coins are ready to go, so I'm going to do those last when I come back and finish this part up, but everything else I'm going to do right now as I walk around my house. Alright, so this texture here on top of the brick is nice. I like that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that texture on top of my wrist area. So I'm just going to place my paper down, my aluminum foil down. I'm just going to go ahead and pet it. And I'm being careful not to touch the part that I glued, the part that I got from my glue from the other picture. All right, that looks pretty cool. You see that texture there? That's pretty nice. I like that. So I like this texture here too, right here on top of the wood, like I was saying earlier. And that's what I want for my fingers. So I'm just gonna place it down. And I'm gonna go ahead and rub it gently. Make sure you get a good embossing on that. Oh yeah, that looks good. Maybe I can find a way to get some kind of a texture off of him. Putting the paper on top of him and just getting a texture off of him. Sorry, I guess that's not gonna work. Alright, so this is the router that we have running our internet throughout the house. And I wanted something electronic, so I noticed that the router has all these holes in it. I'm gonna try and catch the holes over here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that on top of my thumb. So I'm gonna hold it up there. Oh yeah, it works. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rub this texture into my hand.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs of this island territory let the U.S. President know it's not for sale. And what is very much correct.
Unfortunately, it's flat right by my palm, so I'm just going to move it over slightly, and then I'll just go ahead and continue. There we go. Wow, actually worked really well. Yeah. There, you see those bumps? Looks like a waffle iron. So I like cooking, and I notice on top of this this grater has all these textures, really sharp textures. So when you guys do a texture in your home, make sure that it's appropriate. I don't want you guys using like sharp materials to get your textures from, because I don't want you guys getting hurt. But I'm a professional. So I'm going to go ahead and place it there. You see it good? And I'm going to go ahead and that's a pretty good one right there. Alright, so I'm back inside my work area, and I've got 4 different textures completed. I still need my one more texture, which is going to be these coins here. And I'm going to take these coins and, using my hand that I did earlier, placing that one off to the side gently. Using my hand, I'm going to go ahead and place my coins into my fingers. So they're all spread out. I'm going to need more coins. Okay, a bunch of coins here. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. Here's her. This guy. Always like that goofy looking symbol. George Washington there. No pennies? Are you too good for pennies? Alright, so I'm just going to line up some of the things that that I can't see when I rub onto my hand. So if you guys got like keys and whatnot that you want to put over here, hairbrushes, combs, anything that has a texture, put it on top of your hand here, and this will make it easier for you to see, or it's going to make it easier for you to collect the texture from this project. Try to get that bird. The bird's kind of cool. I like his head. Try to get that in there. Okay. All right. And then what you do is you line up your work again over your paper, and then that last part, I'm just gonna go ahead and hold it carefully with one hand and rub to get the relief from all the coins on. You gotta be very careful. My nails are pretty sharp, so there's a huge possibility I can actually damage my paper, so I gotta be very careful. Okay, so there's my final texture, my 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth and final texture on top of my hand. Remove these coins. I'm gonna take a second to go ahead and separate my coins so that I can put them all back. Alright, so there we have it. We have all the textures inside the shape of my hand and my arm. I could have been a lot more gentle with the aluminum foil because there is a lot of crushing on the outside of this aluminum. But I mean, you can still see all those different textures that were collected from around my home. And the selection of textures that I chose, there was a reason for them. And they're personal to me. And you guys can do the same thing, and the placement of where I put the textures are also very important to me anyway. So this project has a little bit more of myself into it, because not only is it the decisions that I made for what textures I wanted and the placement of it, but it's also my hand. So my daughters, when they do work that includes or incorporates things that are of them and part of them, like self-portraits and whatnot, I just love those things, and I know your parents would love this kind of stuff too. So they'll get to be able to see your hand, the progression, how big you are, you're growing. So that's the kind of thing that they might want to see. And then also what the things you like, you know, or the things that you had around your house at the time. It's a little time capsule here, a little moment in time in your home, especially with nowadays. I mean, we got my kids are doing journals inside the house to write daily about how they feel and what their experience is during this, because this is a very historic moment for all of us. We're all experiencing this all at the same time, and it's a brand new thing for everyone. So everyone needs to make sure they keep their cool, be calm, be patient. The government is trying to do everything in the best interest of the people so that we do not continue this virus longer than it needs to, and also to overwhelm our medical practitioners. We don't want everyone going to the doctors all at once for the same thing and not having enough room, and people getting hurt or, you know, worse, because there's just overwhelmed because so many people got sick. So yes, there are some people that are not listening to the quarantines by going out, by not practicing social distancing and everything. But we need to understand there is no cookie cutter idea of how we need to do this stuff. We're all taking it day by day, and our bosses, all the people that are trying to, the leaders and officials, they're all trying their best to do what they can with what they have. And for us, the best thing to do, listen to your parents. Okay, if something's unsafe and you feel it's unsafe, then perhaps it's not the best thing for you to do. But anyway, I'm getting long-winded here. I want you guys to go ahead and take your work. If you have a cardboard box of some sort, or you can find something nice and big, you can go ahead and glue this work onto a hard piece of cardboard, like a box. I have my art book. Let me get my art book real quick. Okay, so I have my art book, and what's cool about these art books is they come with all this paper, but it also comes with this pretty heavy-duty back page. This is like a really, really thick piece of board, and what you can do is you can take your work, and if you want, you can center it on top of a nice sturdy piece of paper. If you want to, you can also put it on top of the paper that you use, but I know it's kind of flimsy, so it might not work best on that. So get yourself something like a cardstock or something thicker. Like the back of my book here would work really well. And what I can do is I can take a scissors and I can cut all the way around my hand, or I can just cut out a rectangle going around my hand, and I can take this artwork and glue it onto this board here, and that would make a nice art piece, a nice visual art piece to hang up on top of your wall, or lean up against your wall inside your room, or your parents' room on top of their dresser, and they can see your hand on top of the work. So yeah, there we go. There's our textured project. You guys, if you want to, you can do this project by drawing the lines around your hand like what we did in the beginning, and you can go around the house, especially for you first graders and kindergartners, in case you don't want to work with the aluminum, because it's a little bit too difficult to work with. It's not like a very easy medium to work with. But if you want to, you can draw your hand by tracing it with your pencil. You can separate it just like what we did here with the pencil, and then you can go around the house and you can use your crayons instead, like what we did in class. And you can take your crayon, you can find the texture, put the texture behind like what we did with aluminum, and take your crayon, and I want you to rub over the textures, and what's going to happen is the texture is going to come out on the front of your paper using your crayon. The crayon is actually going to draw all these textures, so instead of being able to feel the bumps and the holes inside your paper, you'll actually be able to see them using the crayon. Okay, so that's it for today. Textures, name of the game. I was trying to make it so that mostly what we're doing is just enrichment, just kind of like doing more crafty things. I know the stuff that I've been doing for the past few weeks hasn't really been typically what we do in class. This has been more of like arts and craft, more crafty than actually learning art. So we're gonna go through like the first day when we worked on our bookmarks, we did our line, our shape, and our form. So today was texture, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and move into value. So that'll be fun. Alright, so see you tomorrow. Stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face. See you next time.